Hello, lovelies, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm so grateful you're here with me today. In this episode, I want to look into something incredibly powerful, tender, and life-changing, and that is healing the inner child. Now, you might have heard that term before and wondered what it really means. I know when I first heard it, I didn't have a clue, and actually I didn't even get it. So you might have heard it before, but it might also be completely new to you. Either way, I want you to know that this is for you, because every single one of us has a younger version of ourselves inside, a little part of us that still remembers the joy, the wonder, the playfulness, but also those moments we didn't feel safe, the moments we felt too much or not enough, the moments we were criticised, rejected, ignored or misunderstood. And even now, as adults, so many of the painful things we feel, like the fear of being judged, the guilt around food, the deep shame about our bodies, the harsh voice that says we're not good enough. These aren't failures of your adult self. They are the wounds carried by your inner child, the part of you that's still holding the pain of what you didn't get. Love, safety, reassurance, presence. And the beautiful news is that you get to offer that now. You get to become the loving, kind, grounded present your younger self always needed. So today we're going to explore how the inner child shows up in our lives, how it connects with eating struggles and emotional patterns, and most importantly, how to begin gently healing those old wounds with compassion, care, and connection. Because when we meet those younger parts of ourselves with love, something incredible begins to happen. We soften and feel safer, and we stop fighting ourselves. And when we begin to trust that maybe, just maybe, we are already enough. Let's begin. So, let's start by taking a breath together. A long, slow inhale and a gentle exhale. And if it feels okay, maybe even place a hand over your heart, somewhere on your body that feels safe. Because today we're beginning a journey inward. It's not a journey to fix or change who you are, but to remember who you've always been underneath the coping, the armour and the rules. So here's a question I would love you to sit with. Who were you before the world told you who to be? Before the shoulds, before the silence, before your joy became something to tone down and your feelings became something to hide, before you felt you had to earn your place. That version of you, the one who felt freely, who needed comfort, who first asked for love without shame, that's your inner child. And they haven't left yet, they're still here. Inside your nervous system, your gut, your instincts and your heart, they show up when you feel like you've done something wrong, even when you haven't. They show up when you panic about being too much or not enough. They show up in the moments you reach for control, not because you want to dominate anything, but because you're scared, because something feels unsafe. And it's not your adult self who's scared. It's that younger part of you, still waiting to feel safe. Your inner child is not childish, not weak or soft or immature. That part of you is wise, because they hold the truth of what you needed, what you felt, what you couldn't say out loud. They hold the truth of what it was like to grow up in a world that didn't always know how to meet your needs. You might not have had the language to explain it back then, but your body remembered. Your system adapted. Maybe you became the good kid, people-pleasing, staying small, never rocking the boat. Or maybe you learned to numb out, to disconnect, to retreat, to shut down when things got too much. Or maybe you tried to control the chaos through food, through perfectionism, people-pleasing, through your body, because that was the only thing that felt manageable. And let me say this with love. None of that means you're broken. It means you were doing the best you could with what you had. You were surviving. And part of that survival might have meant putting your inner child to the side, packing them away, telling them to grow up, or ignoring them altogether because their needs felt too overwhelming. But that child never left. They're still in there, beneath the walls and the protective layers, still holding the original wound. Am I safe? Am I lovable? Will someone stay with me when I'm messy, sad, loud, or afraid? And this is why healing can feel so confronting, especially in eating disorder recovery. Because when you start letting go of the rules, when you stop micromanaging your food or your body, when you let yourself rest or ask for help or feel emotions again, the inner child comes forwards, and sometimes they're terrified. They don't know if they'll be punished or shamed or ignored again. That's why healing your inner child is so essential. Because without that reconnection, recovery can feel like a constant battle between your head and your heart. Your adult mind might know logically that it's okay to eat, that you deserve nourishment, that rest is safe. But your inner child still believes that love has to be earned, that safety is conditional, that your body must look a certain way to be acceptable. And here's a really powerful truth. You get to meet that part now with compassion. You get to say, sweetheart, you didn't deserve what happened. You never had to earn love, and you're safe with me now. This work isn't about blaming anyone. It's not about digging up the past to stay stuck in it. It's about giving yourself what was missing, so you can stop searching for it through punishment, control, or performance. And let's be honest, that's what a lot of disordered behaviours are. Attempts to get needs met in the only way you knew how. But now you have the capacity and the knowledge to choose a different path. To pause and say, maybe what I needed all along wasn't a thigh gap or fewer calories. Maybe what I needed was to feel safe in my own skin, to be held, to be loved just as I am. And that's the beginning of inner child feeling. Noticing when the pain you feel is old pain. Noticing when the fear in your system doesn't match the reality you're in now. And gently saying, I've got you, sweetheart. I'm here. I won't leave you. You're not weak for needing care. You're not wrong for having wounds, and you're not alone in any of this anymore. So as we move forward in this episode, I want you to carry that image with you. The younger you holding out their hand and waiting for someone to notice. You get to be that someone now. You get to take their hand gently and say, let's do this together. I'm not going anywhere. Let's take another breath together. Place your hand back on your heart if it helps. Feel the warmth of your body. And when you're ready, we'll explore the next step of how to recognize when your inner child is showing up so that you can respond and not react. Now that we've met your inner child, the question becomes, how do we know when they're showing up? How do we recognize when the pain we're feeling or the behaviours we're stuck in are actually echoes of something much, much earlier? Because the inner child doesn't always show up with a tiny voice saying, "Help me." Most of the time, they show up in ways that seem irrational, messy, or even confusing. They show up in the overreactions, when something small feels absolutely enormous. They show up in the shutdowns, when everything gets too much and you suddenly feel numb. They show up in the self-criticism, the voice that says, "You're disgusting, you're not doing enough, you'll never be okay." They show up in the anxiety, the guilt, the spiral of shame after eating something you actually wanted. And none of this is a mistake. None of it means you're failing. It just means there's a younger part of you, still carrying fear, confusion, or grief. And that part doesn't know you're safe yet. Let's look at some really common signs that your inner child is present, especially in recovery. The sudden sense of panic when plans change. Maybe you were going to eat something safe, but it's not available. Or someone suggests a spontaneous dinner and you freeze inside. That panic isn't about the food. It's about safety. Your inner child may have grown up in chaos or in a home where being spontaneous meant being hurt or shamed. So when things feel uncertain, they react with alarm. They don't know yet that flexibility can be okay. The deep guilt or shame after eating. You finish a meal and instead of feeling satisfied, you feel flooded with the anxiety or the urge to make up for it and compensate. And that's often not about the food at all. It's about an internalized belief learned early on that needs are wrong, that being full is greedy, that you're only lovable when you're small, compliant, and controlled. These beliefs weren't born in adulthood. They were absorbed in childhood, maybe not through words, but through silence, through tension, through the way emotions were handled or not handled in the spaces you grew up in. The need to be perfect, liked, or in control. Do you ever feel like if you just do everything right, you'll finally be okay? That if your body looked a certain way or you followed your plan exactly, the discomfort inside would settle? That's your inner child trying to earn love, trying to prove worth, because somewhere along the way, love became conditional. Be good, be thin, be quiet, don't be a problem. And now, even though you're older, that belief still lives inside. The fear of being too much. Maybe you silence your emotions, apologize constantly, or hide your joy because it feels unsafe to take up space. That's a wound from childhood too. A time when your bigness or boldness wasn't welcomed. And now your inner child is afraid that being fully yourself will lead to rejection. So when you notice these patterns, these moments of overwhelm or fear or overthinking, I want to gently offer you this. What if this isn't all of you reacting? What if this is a younger part of you asking for connection, not correction? Because when you can pause in those moments and say, "Ah, I see you. This is the younger me feeling scared." You break the cycle of self-blame. You create space for care instead of control, and most importantly, you show your inner child that they don't have to figure it out alone anymore. That's the beginning of healing. Not pushing it away, not fixing it on the spot, but noticing, naming, and then gently responding with curiosity and kindness. So the next time you feel that wave of shame, or the moment you're about to restrict again, or you find yourself spiraling in front of the mirror, I want you to ask, who is showing up here And what do they really need from me now? Maybe they need reassurance. Maybe they need to hear, "I'm proud of you for eating, sweetheart." Maybe they need a hug, or to cry, or a moment of stillness. Maybe they need play or softness, or to be told they're not bad just because they exist. And you get to be the one that offers that, because your inner child isn't asking for perfection. They're asking for presence. Every time you choose connection over criticism, every time you meet a spiral with softness instead of shame, you're healing something very old. You're rewriting the story, and you're becoming the adult they always needed. Just let that sink in for a moment. You get to become the one who stays, and that's something to be so proud of. In the next part of this episode, we're going to explore how to begin reconnecting with your inner child and how to offer them what they never received, and how reparenting yourself can shift everything. So let's take another breath together. Breathe in and breathe out. Let's move forward with love. So now we've explored who your inner child is and how they often show up in ways that don't look like a child at all. The next question becomes, how do we actually begin to heal? Because understanding is a beautiful first step, but healing happens in the doing, in the loving, the choosing, the repeating. And healing your inner child is one of the most meaningful, life-changing things you'll ever do. It's not about going back and changing the past, because we quite simply can't do that. It's not about blaming anyone. The people around us were most likely doing the best they could with the conditioning, wounding, and pain that they had. And it's not about dwelling in pain. It's about something far more empowering, becoming the steady, loving presence you always needed and still deserve. This process is called reparenting. At its heart, it's a practice of meeting yourself with tenderness again and again, especially when old wounds get stirred up. It doesn't require you to have perfect answers. It simply asks that you stay, that you don't abandon yourself when things feel hard. So let's explore how this can look gently, practically, and powerfully. Healing always begins with awareness. Before we can soothe, respond, or support our inner child, we first need to know they're here, they're present, and they're trying to get our attention, often in ways that don't look childlike at all. So this step is about learning to recognize the moments when a younger part of you is active. And that can take some practice, especially if you've been taught to ignore, dismiss, or override your emotional responses. So let's slow it down right here. Your inner child doesn't usually show up with words. They show up with sensations and feelings, with emotional waves that feel disproportionate to what's happening, with behaviours that confuse your adult self, like spiralling into a shame cycle over a simple meal, or cancelling plans last minute because something just doesn't feel right. You might think, I'm overreacting, this really shouldn't be a big deal. But those thoughts are a clue, because your inner child doesn't live in logic. They live in the felt experience, in the body, the breath, and the nervous system. They'll respond to anything that reminds them, consciously or not, of the past. And when something feels even vaguely familiar to an old wound, they rush in with the same response they learned back there. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Or in eating disorder terms, restrict, binge, overthink, compensate, numb, control. So here are some signs that your inner child might be showing up in a moment. You suddenly feel incredibly anxious or panicked. even if nothing major has happened. That's often a younger part of you bracing for something that once felt unsafe. You feel an overwhelming need to be perfect, to please, or to control your environment. That's often a child trying to stay safe by being good, invisible, or liked. You shut down emotionally, go numb, or feel like your body isn't your own. This can be a protective response learned long ago, a way to disappear without leaving. You might find yourself flooded with guilt, shame, or fear after doing something basic like eating or resting. That might be a younger part that learned those things weren't safe or that they had to be earned. You're extremely self-critical. That harsh inner voice, it's often the internalized echo of someone who once made you feel not enough, and your inner child believes it still matters. None of this means you're doing anything wrong. It means there's a part of you that remembers what it was like to feel unsafe, unloved, unworthy, and they're still stuck in that moment, waiting for someone to come and make it better. And now that someone is you. But first, you need to notice. So, when a strong emotion arises, especially one that feels bigger than the situation, I want you to ask yourself this gentle but powerful question. How old does this part of me feel right now? You might be surprised at the answer. Sometimes the feelings belong to a very young version of you, maybe 4 or 5, who felt ignored or abandoned. Other times it might be your 13-year-old self, feeling awkward, judged, and desperate to belong. Or maybe your 17-year-old self, learning to numb out with control because big feelings were just too much. Whoever shows up, don't push them away. You don't need to fix them yet. Just recognize them, name them, acknowledge them. You could say, I see you. This feels like the younger me. You're scared right now. I can feel that this reaction belongs to an old wound. I'm not in danger now, but I understand why it feels that way. Even this simple recognition can begin to change things, because when your inner child is acknowledged, they soften. The intensity of the emotion can begin to reduce. Your system realizes, I'm not alone in this anymore. This is what I mean by when I say awareness is healing. It's not a passive thing. It's not just thinking about your inner child. It's actively choosing to see them in your everyday moments. To slow down enough to say, this isn't about the email I just received or the snack I just ate or the photo I just saw. This is about an old part of me, being reminded that I used to feel not good enough. And from that place of recognition, you create the opportunity to respond differently, not with panic or punishment, but with presence, with compassion. And that leads us beautifully into the next step, which is reparenting. Because once you know your inner child is here, you can begin to meet them, not with fear or frustration, but with the kind of love and steadiness they never got to receive. So let's look at reparenting in real time. Now that you know how to recognize when your inner child is present, the next step, the heart of the healing, is this. How do you respond? Because for so many of us, when these younger parts show up, scared, loud, ashamed, reactive, our first instinct is to judge them, to push them down, to say, what's wrong with me? I need to just get it together. But let's pause and really feel into that. Would you speak to a frightened child like that? Would you tell a 6-year-old who's crying in the corner, stop overreacting, grow up, get it right next time? No, of course you wouldn't. You'd soften. You'd kneel down beside them. You'd lower your voice and make space for the feelings even if they didn't make sense. You'd offer safety. And that's what reparenting is. It's choosing moment by moment to meet your inner child, not with control but with care, not with punishment but with presence. And the most powerful part is that you don't have to wait until you feel ready. You don't have to be calm first. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to show up. Let me give you a few real life examples because it's not theoretical, it's daily life. So let's say you've just finished eating something outside of your comfort zone, and suddenly there's a wave of shame, panic, the urge to compensate. You pause, you breathe, and you gently say, I know this part of me is scared right now. I can feel it in my chest, but I'm not going to abandon myself. This food was safe. This food was allowed, and I'm not wrong for meeting my needs. That's reparenting. Or maybe you've had a difficult conversation, you feel rejected or unseen. Old stories rise up. I'm not good enough. I've done something wrong. You notice the script playing, and instead of spiraling, you place a hand on your heart and say, this is old. I recognize this. This is the part of me that learned love had to be earned, and I don't have to believe that anymore. I'm allowed to be human. I'm allowed to be loved exactly as I am. That's reparenting. Maybe your instinct is to restrict, to shut down, control, punish. You catch yourself, you slow down, maybe have a cup of tea and sit down, and you say, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to feel safe. But I won't find safety through deprivation anymore. I choose something different. I choose care. That's reparenting. It can be quiet, it can be clumsy, it can be awkward at first. But what matters is that you respond. Because every time you respond with compassion, you build trust. You teach your inner child and your whole nervous system, sweetheart, you don't have to fight or flee anymore. I've got you. So let's look at some tools that you can start using right now. Soothing words. When the spiral begins, try speaking to yourself like you wish your parents had. Or maybe they did at times, but not at others. Even silently in your head, try phrases like, you're not in trouble. Sweetheart, you don't have to get this perfect. I'm proud of you. You're allowed to rest. You're safe. These might feel awkward or unnatural at first, especially if no one ever said them to you growing up. But that's exactly why they matter. And with practice, they feel better. Self-touch, because sometimes words aren't enough. Your body needs reassurance too. Try placing your hand over your heart, your tummy, or your cheek. Give yourself a gentle squeeze. Wrap yourself in a blanket. Even simply stroking your arm can begin to regulate your nervous system. That's not silly, it's biology, and it works. I used to put my hand on my cheek and just gently stroke my cheek. It just felt so reassuring. You can also write inner child letters. Try writing a letter to your inner child when you feel overwhelmed. Just a few lines like, I know this is a lot. I'm so sorry you had to hold these feelings alone for so long. You're safe now. I hear you. You matter. This simple act can bring huge relief because the child within you just wants to know that someone sees them. You can also create some statements that anchor you. When your emotions feel big, use one and it helps bring you back to the present moment. Whatever works for you, but for example, something like, I'm an adult now and I can choose differently. I'm not in that place anymore. This feeling is old, but I am safe in this moment. And say these things out loud if you can, because that helps your body believe it. Remember, it is a practice. There will be days, especially at the beginning, when it feels clunky and hard and wrong. And there'll be days when it feels easy and intuitive. And that's okay. You're not getting it wrong. You're building a relationship, and relationships take time. At the core, your inner child isn't asking for perfection. They're not asking you to fix everything. They're asking, will you stay with me when I'm scared? Will you believe me when I say it hurts? Will you love me even when I mess up? Will you not leave me even when others did? And the more often you answer yes, the more healing begins. Even if it's quiet, even if it's loud or messy, even if all you do is breathe through a moment without abandoning yourself. That's everything. That's becoming the one who stays. You're learning to meet your own needs gently and with love. You're turning towards the parts of yourself you used to run from, and that's healing in real time. So far, we've talked about recognizing when the inner child is present and how to reparent in moments of distress, fear, or shame. But there's something equally important and often forgotten in healing work. Your inner child doesn't only carry pain, they also carry joy, playfulness, creativity, wonder, magic. And when you reconnect with that side of them, something wonderful happens. You remember how to feel alive, not just safe but free, not just steady but light. Because recovery isn't just about stopping the hard things. It's about bringing back the things you lost along the way, the things that make life feel fun, rich, expressive. Your inner child isn't just looking for soothing. They're looking for joy, for spontaneity, for connection, for the permission to be. So ask yourself, what lit me up when I was a child? This is such a beautiful place to begin. What made you lose track of time? What did you look forward to after school or on weekends or during the holidays? What filled you with a sense of joy before the world told you to be serious, quiet, small, or perfect? The other day, I was walking the dogs first thing in the morning, and it started raining, and I just had an urge to walk along sticking my tongue out, catching raindrops on my tongue. And it just made me smile so much, and I knew that was so nourishing to my inner child. I also started watching Disney movies again, and my inner child loved it. So what was it for you? Could it have been colouring with bright colours, running barefoot through the grass, singing loudly with no care for how you sounded, baking, building, dressing up, daydreaming, collecting weird little objects? It doesn't matter what it was. It mattered because it connected you with who you were before shame, before criticism, before life got so heavy. And you still get to have that now. Your inner child has not forgotten. They're just waiting for permission to come out and play again. So often we think of healing as hard, heavy work, and sometimes it really is. But joy is just as healing as compassion. Laughter, softness, movement, creativity, they're not distractions, they're medicine for the parts of you that only knew survival. So let's reframe this. Joy is not childish or indulgent, and it's certainly not a waste of time. Joy is evidence that your inner child feels safe enough to come back to the surface. It's a sign that healing is happening. So I would love for you to choose one thing this week that you loved as a child and do it. Not to be productive, not to check it off a list, just as a gift to yourself and your inner child. Play a silly board game, swing in the park, dance in the kitchen, watch a childhood film, jump in a puddle, make a mess on purpose, or sing terribly, but have fun. Eat something that made you feel happy at age 8. And while you do it, say, either in your mind or out loud, Sweetheart, this is for you. We're allowed to be here now. We can have fun now. Just watch and see what happens. That light you'll see flicker up inside. That's real and healing too. Creating connection with your inner child doesn't always have to be dramatic or deep. It can be woven into everyday life in small but meaningful ways. Perhaps in the morning or before bed, ask, "How are you feeling, little one? What do you need today?" And then respond with something kind, a gentle word, a little treat, or a change in your pace. You could draw or journal together and let your inner child draw with you, badly, messily, freely. How many times have you felt terrible because you've had to cross a word out on a piece of paper and it then doesn't look perfect? Allow that imperfection. Scribble. Let it be messy. Or write from their voice. Today I feel, or I wish, or I love it when. Let their truth come through. Find a photo of yourself as a child and put it somewhere visible, on your phone wallpaper, in your journal or on a mirror. Every time you look at it, offer that child a little smile. Remind yourself, they still live inside me and they matter. And use sensory things. Bring in texture, colour, comfort. Fuzzy socks, glitter pens, bubble baths, cuddly toys. Music that makes you want to move. Let your senses become a doorway to presence. You don't have to justify them. You don't have to deserve them. You just need to remember that joy is a part of healing. When you reconnect with joy, you teach your inner child something that goes even deeper than safety. You teach them that they're welcome, not just when they're quiet, not just when they're scared, but when they're laughing, creating, dancing, dreaming. You teach them they don't need to hide anymore. And when your inner child is no longer in hiding, you'll notice something incredible. Food becomes less loaded, rest becomes more easeful, movement becomes less about punishment and more about pleasure. Your body becomes less of a battleground and more of a home, because joy is a bridge and it brings you back to yourself. It reminds you who you were before the pain and shows you who you still are underneath it. So this step, this joyful, light, childlike step, is not the extra part of recovery, it's the heart of it. You weren't born to live in fear. You were born to feel, to play, to connect, to be all of yourself, not just the well-behaved, polished, over-functioning parts. Your inner child remembers what that feels like, and now, together, you get to remember too. So now that we've explored who the inner child is, how they show up, and how we begin to reparent and reconnect, I would love to guide you through a short visualization to help you meet this part of yourself gently, safely, and with compassion. You don't need to close your eyes unless that feels comfortable and you can do it safely. Obviously, not if you're driving. You can keep your gaze soft or just focus on a still point in the room. All that matters is that you feel safe and present. So wherever you are, take a moment to settle in. Find some stillness in your body. Let your shoulders drop a little and allow your breath to slow. No pressure, just an invitation. Inhale gently and exhale slowly. Now I invite you to bring your attention inward and imagine you're walking into a safe space, somewhere warm, calm and comforting. It may be a place from your past, a cozy bedroom, a sunlit garden, a favourite reading place, or it could be somewhere completely imagined. There are no rules here. Just follow what feels good. Take a moment now to notice this space. What does it look like? What colours do you see? Is there a scent in the air? Something familiar and comforting? What does the ground feel like beneath your feet, supporting you? Now, in the distance, you notice someone. It's a younger version of you. They may be very small, or perhaps closer to your teenage years. There's no wrong age, just trust who appears. Watch them for a moment. Notice how they're standing, the expression on their face. Are they shy, curious, nervous, excited? There's no need to rush. Just watch, observe, and hold gentle space. And when you feel ready, slowly walk toward them. When you reach them, pause. Let them know you're here. You might say something in your mind like, "Hey, I see you. I've missed you, sweetheart. I'm so sorry you've been alone." Let the words come from your heart. Simple, honest, and kind. And now, gently offer them your hand. If they accept, hold it. If they need more time, that's okay. You're just here to be with them. Now imagine sitting down beside them, letting them lean into you if they want to. And when the moment feels right, speak to them. You might say, "You never had to be perfect. You didn't do anything wrong. You are so deeply worthy of love, exactly as you are. I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere." Feel the truth of those words land in your body and let your younger self feel them too. If it helps, you can imagine wrapping them in a soft blanket or giving them something they loved, a toy, a song, a snack, a cuddle. You are their safe place now. Stay with them for as long as you need. You can always return to this space. Whenever you feel lost, overwhelmed, ashamed, or afraid, this part of you is never too much. It's not broken or a burden. They're just waiting for your love. And now you're giving it. Take a final moment to hold them. Let them know they're seen, held, and never alone. Then slowly, gently, begin to return to your body and this moment. Notice the weight of where you're sitting. Wiggle your fingers or toes if that feels good. And bring your awareness back to the space around you. If your eyes were closed, you can open them now. Place your hand over your heart if you'd like, and just breathe. You've just done something so brave. You've reconnected with a part of yourself that may have felt forgotten and offered them love. That's healing. That's recovery. That's real. And you can return to this practice anytime, not just when things are hard, but even in small everyday moments, to check in, to offer reassurance or share something joyful. Because your inner child doesn't just hold pain, they hold play, creativity, wonder, curiosity, laughter, all the parts of you that make life rich and real. So keep listening, keep showing up, and keep reminding yourself you're not too much. It's not too late, and you're not alone. You're walking yourself home, and I am so proud of you. So until next time, take care and go gently. Sending you so much love.